What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Roster Bubble Series video. Please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Also, share this out. It is a dead time in the NFL offseason, and content creators who try to be creative like myself don't get as many views as they do and as I do in the regular season. So sharing this out to NFL communities, Giants communities, whatever, other people on social media like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, it really helps, and we could achieve some milestones faster. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. With that being said, another roster bubble video. In these types of videos, I take players on the roster bubble, talk about their background, competition, how they could win a spot, how they could lose a spot. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth today because this is a player I don't particularly know too much about. I'm going to presume that Giants fans don't know too much about him either. Shout-outs to Big Blue View. I'm already going to quote them already just so I don't do it every single time in the video because it gets repetitive. But shout-outs to Big Blue View. They did there's a couple of quotes in here I'm going to pull from them. So shout-outs to Ed Valentine who wrote the article. I'm going to once again pull a couple of quotes from him, and we'll go forward. So I'm going to go over this guy's college stats. And this guy is Andre Miller, wide receiver converting to tight end. With that being said, in 2018, he's an undrafted free agent out of Maine, by the way. 2018, his first year with Maine, 5 receptions, 109 yards, no touchdowns. About 9 games played. Played 11 games in 2019, 28 receptions, 529 yards, and 4 touchdowns. 2020, 4 games played, 21 receptions, 348 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And then 2021, 9 games played, 39 receptions, 684 yards, and 3 touchdowns. In terms of a total of games played, he's played 33 games in college, 93 receptions, 1,670 yards, and 13 touchdowns. So, about the notes, he is converting to tight end. And that's not necessarily an easy thing to do because A, you need to put more weight on. B, you need to learn how to block. Probably more than you do at wide receiver. So some fun facts here. Once again, quoted Big Blue View. Andre Miller trains with former NFL tight end Matt Mulligan, who was a tight end from 2008 to 2016, who now runs Northern Maine Strength. I guess that's a company or possibly, strength for Northern Maine College. I don't know. But he has, I think, been with Brian Dable before, just not as a head coach, of course. Mulligan spent some time with the Jets, Rams, Dolphins, Titans, Packers, Pats, Bears, Cardinals, Titans, again, Bills, and Lions. So I'm going to guess the Patriots in 2013 is where he was with Dable. He also played under Tony Sparano and another Giants coach. I'll probably get to that later on. But I'm going to presume either when he was with Miami in 2008, which I don't think so, or with the Pats in 2013, he was with Brian Dable. Anyway, here's what he said about Andre Miller putting on weight. I'm not going to say we'll put 15 pounds on him within the 6 weeks between mandatory minicamp, training camp. I wouldn't do that to him physically, but if he is going to be a project, which they've talked about as far as that transitional period, we'll have plenty of time, and believe me, he'll get that weight, no problem. By using terms, and I'll just say this, with using the terms of transitional period and project, it's obvious that he may not make the roster. It's going to be a developmental project for this staff, for this regime, and he's just going to be on the practice squad for a few years. If the project works, it works. If it doesn't, well, then someone else gets to take the leftovers. In terms of him being a developmental project and him taking a little bit, in terms of what the NFL wants nowadays out of their tight ends, here's what Mulligan said. You'd be surprised. I never ever say never with the National Football League. A lot of tight ends that are making headway are 245, 240. And I think Miller, last time I checked, was at 220, 230. So he is definitely going there in terms of his weight. Obviously, they'll check once they head up to training camp, which I believe is a week, less than a week away, actually. So, with that being said, Mulligan goes on to say, I actually think that if Andre plays the way I know he could play and catches the ball and runs the routes, especially on the interior, I think he has a great shot of making an active roster, just from his perspective of he can really stretch those linebackers. He runs fast enough and he runs good enough to make those routes very difficult for them. And here is what Andy Bischoff said, who is the Giants' tight ends coach. He called him an interesting player. He's a college receiver who's making that transition to our room, and he's learning how to be a tight end every single day. He won't get it all in a week or a month or a season. It's my job, it's our job to bring him along, to help him have success in the things he's doing, to mitigate the landmines that could be out there, and to help him bring along. Smart guy, had a lot of success in college. He's learning the system. He's an interesting guy to have in our room. So I believe this is also something that Mulligan said. If not, it's something Bischoff said, but yeah, it is something that Mulligan said. He's a big body. He makes good catches. He has the ability to be in and out. He can go outside and inside. They're looking for that with tight ends now. They're not just looking for someone to run inside the hashes, inside the tackles, catching those balls. Split him out. He can run those comebacks. He can run a fade. He can do all that type of stuff and run those square outs and things that they want for tight ends now. Andre Miller is one of those guys you could ask to do something. He's going to go above and beyond. With the love that he has for football, it's not going to surprise me if he ends up having a 10-year career. And here are some fun facts before we end it off. Miller is one of the undrafted free agent tight ends, competing with Jeremiah Hall and Austin Allen for a roster spot. Miller said that the transition is going well and it requires learning new techniques. So what is his competition like? Chris Myrick, Austin Allen, and Jeremiah Hall already mentioned, Ricky Seals-Jones, and Jordan Akins. For me, in terms of how he can win, he's got to show progression as a blocker and skill as a receiving threat. I don't know that they're going to rely too much on the blocking, but if he's failing every single play and opportunity he gets as a blocker, it's not going to be a good path for him. But if he shows a little progression as a blocker in training camp and in the preseason, they'll probably keep him on the practice squad. In terms of receiving threat, that's probably what they're looking for right now because, well, he was a wide receiver, and that carries to the tight end position. So they're saying probably in their heads in terms of the coaches, okay, well, he's making the transition to tight end. We don't know how he's going to block, but if he can catch well, we can at least work on this project for a few years. So I think they're going to rely mostly on his catchability. He's 6'4", which I believe is the height of Kenny Galladay, 6'4", 6'3". Kenny Galladay, Travis Devoyden, a lot of those, I would say, taller receivers. And Austin Allen's a tight end who is a 50-50 ball guy. But, of course, Andre Miller is going to have to show out for him to be able to get a roster spot, and that's a long way ahead. In terms of how he can lose, drops balls within the 50-50 range and doesn't progress through camp in terms of the receiving game and as a blocker. Now, I'm going to say my prediction right now, and I'm going to end it off on a couple of thoughts here. I don't think he is going to make a roster spot, and I think that's pretty clear-cut right now because he is transitioning. I don't really think they're going to keep a guy that they're developing on the active roster when they could use an extra tight end, whether it be in the receiving game or in the blocking game on the roster, in terms of whatever they're doing on offense. I think he's going to make the practice squad, but he has to do enough things to assert that he's going to make the practice squad, to confirm that. Otherwise, he'll probably be with another team on another practice squad. I could tell the Giants are committed to developing this guy into a tight end and stretching him that way. But if he's not at least good in the receiving game, I don't see a path for him to the practice squad. But I think he does make the practice squad. I think he makes a couple of nice plays in camp and whatnot. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when the live stream pops or drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.